Welcome to another Howls and Growls breakdown. Today we're talking about Minnesota's secret defensive weapon, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. The Timberwolves are getting their flowers this season because they're the number one team in the West and they've been the number one ranked defense for the majority of the season. And it's been the likes of Rudy Gobert, Jaden McDaniels, and even Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns who have been getting credit for that meteoric rise. But we need to speak more about Alexander Walker. Despite playing just 22 minutes a night, he's quickly put himself in that same tier as other low-minute defensive machines like Alex Caruso and Jonathan Isaac, among others. But as it stands, he's not getting the same recognition for what he does. Alexander Walker is a defensive event creator. He's capable of playing strong defense that doesn't impact the box score, but he pops as someone who creates havoc and causes turnovers with his IQ and his quick twitch reactions. On the season, he ranks in the 97th percentile for total defensive estimated plus minus, the 80th percentile for defending pick and roll ball handlers, the 93rd percentile defending handoffs, and again he causes turnovers, ranking in the 82nd percentile for steal percentage and the 95th percentile for deflections per 36 minutes. You combine all of those things and you get a menacing perimeter stopper and a clever team defender. So let's just take a look at a few things that make him that way. The first thing you notice when you watch Alexander Walker is his screen navigation. I don't think there's a doubt that he's one of the best in the league at sliding through screens and staying attached to any kind of ball handling scoring threat. He's got a really slight frame, really quick feet, and a superb technique, and that makes him almost unscreenable. On the season so far, his opponents are shooting just 38.7% when he is defending them on pick and rolls. And again, he's a defensive playmaker. He's forcing 2.3 turnovers per 75 possessions, and that ranks in the 93rd percentile league-wide. It's how he uses his legs on these screens that's so impressive. See how he steps over the screener's leg here to get his body between the pick and the ball. That allows him to stay on the hip of the player with the ball and then eat up this kind of space and use his 6'10" wingspan to get strong contests on the shot. Again, it's the same thing here. He gets this lead leg over the screen. That allows him to get skinny through it and stay glued to the hip of the ball handler. He takes the push off, regains balance, closes down the space, and gets up to contest the jumper. I just love the way he mingles his on-ball pest work with the know-how of when to switch or veer back to a teammate's man as well. He's getting over this ball screen here, but as soon as he sees that Edwards is in here, able to step up and take Curry, he's going to veer back to the corner shooter and pick off the eventual pass. That's that defensive playmaking that I've been talking about. Again, it's the same situation in the same game. He gets through the screen here, but Curry turns him and forces Cat to come out of coverage and switch onto the ball. Right away, Alexander Walker recognizes it, veers back in front of the screener, and picks off that pass again. And you see what those live ball turnovers create. Buckets at the other end in transition against a broken defense. And even if he isn't creating turnovers, nor is just being an irritant on those late rotations. You see him here, he gets through two screens and sticks with the ball handler longer than we saw on those previous veerbacks, but when Nance pump fakes, he extends his pressure and gets in here to provide a body and help force a miss. That ability to realize where the danger is really plays into the more underrated part of his defensive package, his team defense. He is gaining a reputation as an on-ball stopper, but Alexander Walker is really good at putting out fires off the ball with his rotations and his awareness. It's these kinds of possessions that make him extremely valuable as a defender in all situations, not just as a pesky stopper at the point of attack. And it's part of the reason why the Timberwolves have a 110.3 defensive rating when he's on the floor, a number that ranks in the 93rd percentile league-wide. Sometimes it really is just the simple things. This low man rotation is a good example. As soon as Sohan breaks through the first line of defense, he is sprinting into this low man help. When he gets there, he's going to go vertical, stifling the bigger player and forcing a miss when the rest of the defense had broken down. This time the low man help is a little more complicated because he's not just stationed in that position from the beginning of the play. First he's going to stunt out to here to make sure Reggie Jackson doesn't get an open look. Then when Brown spins, he's shuffling up here to show a body before spinning back and walling off Jackson's backdoor cut. But he's always aware, his head is always on a swivel, and when Brown does drive, he's shifting back here to help contest the shot at the rim. And really that's just the basics for Alexander-Walker. He can actually push it further than that. This isn't just robotic technique, there's so much hustle and want to about his defense as well. This one might be the best defensive possession of his season so far. He starts by face guarding this 45 cut from Colin Sexton. That's the first prong of Utah's action, and he cuts that off easily. A lot of players would call it a day there and zone out, but he stays on point. So eventually they're going to swing it back around and get into a pick and roll with John Collins, and you see how quick he recognizes that and rotates down to provide help and get a hand on the ball to stop the big man at the rim. Then when it squirts out to Sexton again, he's back in here, digging in again, and eventually forcing that turnover. Plays like this are not normal for most players, but they've become commonplace for Alexander-Walker. Here's another ridiculous possession. Again, you see it all here. He begins with the screen navigation, slipping under this wide pin down, then he's squeezing up on Keldon Johnson and getting this hand up to prevent any dump down pass into the paint. And when he sees Towns hit the deck and Collins start to drive, he's here low man helping again, dislodging the ball to stop the layup, and then hustling over here to spring up and force the miss on a player who probably has 6 inches of height on him. If you're a sucker for defense like I am, there's no way you can't love Nickeil Alexander-Walker. He might not have the offensive package to be one of the true two-way forces in the league, but having someone who can give you menacing bench minutes or fill in as a defensive-minded starter who can also knock down threes is a really valuable option for a playoff team and maybe even a potential contender. He's been exactly that for Minnesota so far this season, and it's made even better by the fact that he was re-signed this offseason for just $9 million over 2 years. They're the kind of bargains you need when you're filling out a roster that has huge money tied up into Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, and Rudy Gobert. If Minnesota are going to do the seemingly impossible and go far in the playoffs this season, it'll be bargain buys like Nickeil Alexander-Walker that help them get there, and especially with the way he plays, being a defensive-minded guy who impacts as well on the offensive end. Thanks again for watching Howls and Growls. Please subscribe for more Timberwolves content.